Hola chicos, hoy vamos a continuar con nuestro estudio de Quien soy yo, our study of who we all are. Quien soy yo, who am I? I put the question marks in because for some reason my computer doesn't want it to work the right way. All right, vamos a seguir. Let's actually cover this up. I don't want you guys to see everything at once. So what are some keywords we're going to need to know? Palabras clave is a word for keywords. We'll use it all the time. Expresiones importantes, obviously important expressions. So the first one, interrogative words that we need to know. We're going to need to know how to say, well, the ones in Spanish that we're going to need to know, we're going to see como, we're going to need cuantos, and cuantas, the feminine version, que, and quien. So these are some of our who, what, where, when, how. Como happens to be how, cuantos, the word for how many, que, the word for that, and quien, the word for who. So we'll be using those question words as we go through these. Another key word is the word I. This is a simple but super useful word. It means there is and there are. Real quick, I remember in Spanish class not learning this word forever and thinking when I learned it, why didn't I learn that one earlier? I, there is or there are. Great word. Remember it, use it as much as possible. When we talk about ourselves, we're going to want to know what we do. So hacer is a word that means to do. It also means to make, but in our context here, we're going to be using it for to do. All right, so what do you like to do, for example? The verb hacer is such a common verb that we need to know. Oh, keep in mind, the yo form of this verb is yo hago. So it's a go verb. It's a G verb. It's not regular. It's irregular. ¿Qué más? Comida y comer. Keywords. When I talk about myself, I like to talk about food, and I like to talk about eating. So that's what this is. Comida is your noun form for food, and the word comer is the word to eat. Now, why do I put these together? You can see the root of the words, com, in both of them here and here. They both have to do with eating. That's a good way to remember words, word families, familias de palabras. Another important word, the word for nunca. We also want to talk about things that we never do when we talk about ourselves. So nunca is your word for never. It never changes. It's a great word to know. ¿Qué más? Respetar. Got a guess? Yes, it's just respect. You have an AR added onto the end of the word in English, basically, minus the C, and you have to respect. Wouldn't it be nice if every Spanish word was like that? Just add an AR. Oop, to respetar, no, just to respect. And remember that this is a verb, so it needs to be conjugated, right? AR verb, completely regular. So, in the present tense. ¿Qué más? Algo is your word for something. So I might ask you, what is something you like to do? ¿Qué es algo que te gusta hacer? Very common word as well. Let's actually get rid of our curtain at this point. We can get rid of the suspense. ¿Qué más tenemos? So here's some more words we have. Poco y poca. This is just the feminine version. This is the masculine version. They both mean few, right? It's an adjective. And then gente, I already have this one down, the word for people. You could say personas, but gente is a nice word for people. It happens to be feminine, which is why I have the la there. All right, so what are the questions that we're going to deal with tomorrow in class? I want to review them with you so that you guys can take a look at them and understand them. We know como te llamas. Practice with me right now. Como te llamas? And if you answered me llamo Mike, me llamo Dave, me llamo Sara, me llamo Señor Sofrones, you are right. You never say me llamo S. S does not go in this expression. It's very redundant. How about this one? ¿Cuántos años tienes? And if you said yo tengo 15 años, yo tengo 36 años, you were correct. Do you know your numbers in Spanish? Maybe that's something we need to review. ¿Cuántas personas hay en tu familia? Try that one. ¿Cuántas personas hay en tu familia? Did you say hay 4 personas en mi familia? Did you say hay 3 personas en mi familia? If you did, that's the right answer. I would answer hay 6 personas en mi familia. Mi familia es muy grande. Here's that keyword I. There is or there are. ¿Qué más? Otra pregunta. ¿Qué te gusta hacer? We've already done this one. If I asked you ¿qué te gusta hacer? What would you say? If you said me gusta plus whatever infinitive in the world you want to use, then you were right. Me gusta jugar béisbol. Me gusta tocar la guitarra, etc. Here's where you might need some creativity. If you need a verb that you don't know, you simply consult a dictionary. The best one being SpanishDICT.com. And if you have a smartphone, they have an app. I promise I'm not trying to promote them, but they are a great resource. If I ask you, ¿qué es tu comida favorita? What might you say? If you said, mi comida favorita es, and then a food, you were right. So I would say, mi comida favorita es I don't know, there's too many options. Too many options. I don't know how to answer that question right now. But think of something. If you don't know what the word means, it might, or if you don't know how to say the word you want, it might be a nice opportunity to look a word up. Dictionaries are great, just don't make them be a crutch. Here's a more complicated question. ¿Qué es una comida que nunca comes? Here's our word nunca. We've seen comida, the two form of comes. ¿Qué? What? ¿Qué es una comida que nunca comes? Couple things with this sentence when we answer it, right? We have to say, I don't eat. A food that I don't eat is. So this verb needs to be changed to the yo form. What's the yo form of this verb? Good. Como, right? So we have to kind of reverse this around. Follow along with me. Una comida que nunca como es. And there's your answer. Again, you need to find a word. Look it up. ¿Qué más? Dos preguntas más. ¿Quién es una persona que respetas mucho? Here's our quien, our interrogative word. Who es una persona? Cognate, looks like English. Que. Now look, there's two K's in here. In this one, this one, this one, this one. I'm sorry, this one doesn't have two K's, the first two. So K with an accent on it and a question mark is what? K without a question mark, I'm sorry, without an accent mark is your word for that, right? What is a food that you never eat? Or who is a person that you respect a lot? I just gave you the answers to the questions. Oh well. So you'll answer that question much the same way you answered the one before. You have to change this to the yo form. What's the yo form of respetar? If you said respeto, you were correct. Same thing. Add an O on to the end. Okay? And you got to think of who that is. Para mí, una persona que yo respeto mucho es mi padre. ¿No? Y número 8, que es algo. Here's our K with a accent mark, meaning what? Algo, which we learned before. Que poca, which we learned before. Gente, which we learned before. Sabe de ti. A little bit more of a complicated question. ¿Qué es algo que poca gente sabe de ti? Ti is your word for you after a preposition, this preposition de. So, ¿qué es algo que poca gente sabe de ti? Un secreto. Right? So, in my case, algo que poca gente sabe de mí es que yo surfeo. Right? That I surf. Es un secreto. Muchas personas no saben eso. So see if you can figure that question out. Okay? Mañana, or whenever our next class is, be ready to answer these questions and work on them in class. Okay? And this will be sort of the end of our Quien Soy Yo mini unit. Muchas gracias por su atención. Nos vemos en clase. Chao.